Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. I feel like we come on every week and we say this one's going to be a lot of fun. This one's really going to be a lot of fun today for a couple different reasons. Because Atlanta United's playing well, so we have a lot of positive things to talk about. They've won 3 in a row, 7 of their last 8. They're going into a very big match Saturday in Philadelphia. But we've got a really special treat coming up for you shortly as
Nobody's
we
getting
visit.
a cake smashed in their face, are they?
No cake smashing, no. But we're going to have a club legend. I think it's fair to call him a club legend. We're going to have a club legend join us to talk about some of the spectacular things that Ezequiel Barco has been doing in recent weeks, including on Saturday, Jason, 3-2 win over DC United. Barco had goal of the week. George Bello had runner-up for goal of the week. And Atlanta United got 3 big points against a team that is also trying to fight their way into playoff position right now in the East.
Yeah, let's not waste any time with Barquito's magic on this free kick in the 18th minute. That is such a difficult shot to pull off, and the confidence that Ezequiel is playing with right now is just immense. I mean, it's a tough angle to go to goal from. You've got to hit it perfect to go the direction that he did. He went short side on it. Bill Hamid's one of the best in the league at stopping shots. He can't get there. I mean, you saw the look on Hamid's face. He's like, what am I supposed to do with that? Can I get a ladder out here? It's the only way he's getting up to that corner. Amazing free kick from Ezequiel Barco, and that was the lift that Atlanta needed in this match because it was a little challenging early on. So Atlanta gets the cushion. Barco's not done. He feeds Joseph Martinez. Another great goal to the near side. Beats Bill Hamid. I think caught him a little bit by surprise. Great ball from Barco. Atlanta's up 2-0 in a good position at this point. This game was kind of a crazy roller coaster, though, in a lot of ways. A deflected cross comes back to Felipe, and he blasts it into the back of the net. He might have caught it with his shin a good bit, but it's still an incredible volley. And Brad Gazan's like, hey, what am I supposed to do? Do I get a ladder over on this side? Look at that thing. Off the hop, no chance to react. It's a golazo anywhere in the world, even if it does take some of his shin. So it's 2-1. Then Marcelino Moreno says, we've seen some crazy goals. How about some crazy dribbling? I'm going to go take everybody on and then give George a tap in. Amazing from Marcelino. So 3-1, we think all the craziness is over. Nah, Edison Flores with an unbelievable goal in the 94th minute. This was the first game where, one, I clapped after a goal, and that was on the Moreno goal or the Moreno creation to Barco. It was the first game that I had any kind of a visceral reaction to opponent goals, and it was on both of them. It was a wild match. It was a really fun match. It was a huge win. It was an entertaining, I think, approach from Atlanta United. Not reckless. They were the better team. DC had their moments, and I thought in the second half, up until the Martinez goal, DC was starting to really grow into the game, and that took the wind out of their sails. It was a huge moment for Barco to find Joseph, but the quality of the goals in this game, the intensity of the match as a whole, it was a great, great match, a great watch, hopefully a great listen for those of you who were with us on radio, and hopefully it's something that Atlanta United can continue to feed off of going forward.
Yeah, a couple thoughts from me. If Atlanta United and DC United end up meeting in the playoffs, I'm going to have to probably prepare myself a little bit because it's going to be an exciting match. The 2 matches these teams have played against each other this year have been absolutely phenomenal. The one up in DC where Atlanta United got a late winner, and then obviously the win Saturday at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Atlanta United has scored now 10 goals in their last 3 matches. Very, very encouraging to see. So we know the attack's going well, and I know they gave up 2, and they were golazos by DC.
Yeah.
But one stat that really stood out to me about Saturday, Jason, was Ola Kamara, league's leading goal scorer. Not only did he not score on Saturday, but he was held to just 1 shot.
Yep.
So Atlanta United did a very good job, at least in my opinion, in mitigating the danger that Ola Kamara can present defensively.
Yeah, I'll go a step further than what they did specifically to Kamara. I think they cut off the service in a lot of ways. Uh, Julian Gressel wasn't able to pick him out in dangerous spots that much. They had to attack down the left a little bit more. Atlanta kind of forced them to the left, and Kevin Paredes is not somebody who's providing as much service as Gressel on the right. So I thought it was a really well thought out game plan coming in by Gonzalo Pineda. Took away a lot of the things that DC does very well. And I mean, we didn't even talk about it, and we probably should be careful because we might get yelled at by an opposing goalkeeper. We didn't talk about the big saves in this game either, because Bill Hamid made a couple of huge saves in the match. Brad Gazan made a couple of huge saves in the match. This match had a little bit of everything in it. And
Yeah.
to go into a game like that and be the better team and come out of it with 3 points, I think that's a big lift. And I think this week, probably, the team's feeding off of that a little bit in training and getting ready to go to Philly.
I will take my chances that Bill Hamid is not currently watching the AT&T countdown.
I don't know. Bill, you had a couple of great saves. I'll give you your credit that you didn't get in the highlight package.
He absolutely did. So did Brad.
Absolutely, he did.
Well, Brad's been great. He's had clean sheets in 2 of his last 3 matches. But that Barco goal, voted goal of the week by MLS fans, predominantly Atlanta United fans, probably, but still
Probably.
MLS fans voted it goal of the week. But is it the greatest direct free kick goal in Atlanta United history? For the answer, we go to the expert, probably the best free kick taker this club has ever had, Kevin Kratz. All right, well, Atlanta United now suddenly has gotten this burst of direct free kick goals. So who better than Kevin Kratz to help us break down the art of direct free kicks? Because, Kevin, in my opinion, even though Ezekiel's doing great right now, you are still the best in Atlanta United history at hitting direct free kicks into nets. So it's good to see you again, and you're still with the club, working with the academy now, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But thank you so much for joining us. I know all our fans want to know, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Ezekiel is doing all right at the moment, so hopefully he can keep that going. As long as he doesn't score 2 in the same game, I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be happy either way. We want to see your record intact, but we want to see lots of goals as well. So we thought we would have a little bit of fun with this because, in the NBA during the All-Star weekend, they have a slam dunk contest and they get former players to judge slam dunks and the artistry. Well, we would like for you maybe to break down a couple direct free kick goals that we have picked out, maybe grade them on a scale of 1 to 10. So let's go back to 2018. That April match, it was a Saturday afternoon against Montreal. It's 1-1 in the second half. You come on as a sub, and you get this opportunity to take a free kick, and you're able to put it into the left upper 90 and make it a 2-1 match. On a scale of 1 to 10, you might be a little biased because you're talking about yourself here. How would you grade that direct free kick?
I give the first one, I give that one an 8.
An 8.
But a quick story about the free kicks, real quick. How we determined that I'm going to take them.
Yeah.
Remember, we were on the training field with Tata, and it was Miguel, Joseph, some other guys, Tito, Leandro. They were all standing around, and we were hitting one after another after practice. And at some point, I just started scoring. And then Tata walked over, and he was like, by the way, guys, if there's ever a direct free kick, Kevin on the field, who's going to take it? And then, I don't remember who it was that I take it. He was like, no way you take it. If Kevin is on the field, Kevin will take it. If he doesn't feel like it, then someone else can give it a try. But so that was how it kind of started.
All right. Well, so you gave the first one an 8. Let's take a look now at the second one, and this made it 3-1 Atlanta United. And this is the one where all Jason and I could do in the broadcast booth was laugh because it seemed silly to us that you were able to even get this on frame, let alone in. How would you score that one on a scale of 1 to 10?
Personally, I would rate this one higher because I was never really good to hit it in the goalkeeper corner. But I get an 8.5 with this one because it hit the inside of the post, and I also played a little bit of mind games with the goalkeeper. I think the first one helped me on this one. And an 8.5 for that one.
That's what I wanted to ask you about because it's the same game. It's later in the game. He's seen you hit one. What was your mindset walking up to this one? It's further out as well. What were you thinking as you line it up and as you're taking a peek at the wall and where the goalkeeper is? What was your mindset going into it?
So usually what I do is I usually start looking at the goalkeeper's position, right? Especially in moments like this, scoring the first one, which was great, and it kind of made him second guessing himself a little bit, right? So and then I looked at him, and if you look at his position, he's almost like in the middle of the goal. So I was like, hey, let's give it a try to whip it more into the goalkeeper corner, and then that it hit the inside of the post was even better. And you can see that he kind of makes half a step towards behind the wall,
Mhm.
and then he just stops. So I think that was a great moment. What a great game that was.
Well, one of my favorite angles of both of those goals was actually taken from behind where you hit it. And some of your teammates who were lined up behind you actually had their arms in the air as soon as you hit it because they knew it was going in before the goalkeeper even reacted. Remembering back to that now, and I know it's been 3 years, did you know those were goals as soon as you hit them?
There are moments where you hit it and you know, okay, this one feels really nice. I think we should have gotten Brad on this call too. You know, I spent so many on him in training. It would be good to see his perspective too.
Maybe it's better that Brad is not here so he can't rebut that.
That's true. That's true. But there's one quick story about Brad. Before MLS Cup final, the Tata in the training session before the game, we usually did some set pieces, and I always had like one or two direct free kicks. And I remember that the day before the MLS Cup final, I hit one and it was a really good one. But Brad went all out, saved it, fell in the side net, and celebrated afterwards. And then Parky was from the side. Finally, you saved one, Brad. You know. And then the next day we won MLS Cup. I always look back at this and I kind of like it's just a good little story.
Well, we actually picked another one from that MLS Cup run in 2018, and I think this one gets forgotten a little bit. It was the second leg against New York City. It's late in the first half, and Miguel Almiron, in almost the same spot of the park from where you hit those two against Montreal, same side of the stadium, up against Sean Johnson in New York City now, and this was a beautiful one as well. How would you grade Miggy's free kick on a scale of 1 to 10?
I give him a 7.5 for that one. But that's a big moment, right? And for me, it was always difficult to shoot from the side where you have to kind of start the ball outside of the goal and let it curl back in. So this one was special, not just because it was left-footed and also like over the wall, but also the timing and the importance of that goal, right? So, but I give it a 7.5 because could have gotten a little more in the corner. Let's say it like that.
It's a little interesting when that happened because the foul happened, and I remember really clearly thinking through, okay, who's going to take this? Because we really didn't know watching from the outside some of these moments in those first couple of years. If you weren't on the field, it's like, who's going to take it? If you're there, I know you're taking it. But we saw Joseph take a few. Didn't really see Almiron take a lot of free kicks, and he buries one of the biggest.
Yeah, Miguel had so his ball. If you look at it, it's not really coming back down very quick.
Mm-hmm.
So like he has a good technique, but it's not that up and down. So if this one is a little bit further out, he definitely has a good free kick on that one. If it's closer, then I would give it more to Barco at the moment, right?
Right.
Well, speaking of Barco, now he's had a couple direct free kick goals. If you want to count this one against Orlando as a direct free kick goal, I have no problem with it because we think this is going in anyway, even if Daryl DK doesn't put it in for the own goal. The only difference might be what part of the net it goes in. So there's a lot going on in the build-up to this. First of all, before we kind of analyze what Barco was thinking, how do you grade this one, the one that went off DK and in on a scale of 1 to 10?
I give this one a 7 because those balls they're not easy to hit, to find the gap between the wall and that first player. Right? We always have that first player who usually clears up everything that comes kind of low and on the first post. So you really had to put some pace on that one and just put it in that dangerous area.
What kind of free kick in that situation did you like to hit? Because we see different players take it differently. And, a lot of it depends on who else you have on the field as well. But sometimes it's floated up to the back post. Sometimes it's driven on goal and trying to catch the goalkeeper expecting the cross. This one is so low and with pace at the near post. What was the most comfortable one in that situation for you to hit?
So from there, I would almost hit it like my central free kicks
Okay.
and aim for like the second post area.
Yeah.
So that no one touches it, that it's still going on goal. But with the same whip and make it difficult to defend. If it comes down very quick, it's hard to read it, it's hard to defend, and also it's shot very fast. So everybody's kind of still running towards the own goal, and all the guys have to do is just get a little nick on it, and it goes in. And it's so hard for goalies to defend those balls.
Nightmare for a goalkeeper.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's jump ahead now to this past weekend against DC United. This ended up being the MLS goal of the week, and this was just an absolute golazo. In fact, all 5 goals scored in this match were beautiful goals. But how do you rate this one by Barco? Because some people have suggested, Kevin, that this may in fact be the best, prettiest free kick goal in Atlanta United history.
Yeah, I give this an 8.5 if I'm biased, but honestly, it should be a 9 because when I look back at this one, I thought I looked at it. I'm like, I don't even know if I would shoot that one on target.
Yeah.
Because it was still further out. It was a little bit to the side. I was like, you really have to hammer that one in the top corner if you want to get it on goal. I was thinking more like, okay, maybe add this one towards second post, similar to the ones all the way from the side. Let the guys have a run at it and make it more difficult. But this was excellent. Like this is, he hit a few that were not so good, but this one was excellent. I give it credit to him.
How do you work with guys now in the academy? What are the kind of instructions and lessons that you give to whether it's a seasoned pro or a kid in the academy on the art of free kicks?
So I think it's a lot of repetition. We just recently we had our U17s played against DC United, and one of our players, Pavel Romero, scored a beautiful free kick there. And he has been taking them, and some guys just have it a little more naturally, but it's a lot of reps. So what I like to talk about with them is, okay, what are you aiming for, right? So yes, of course we see the goal, we see the goalkeeper, you see the wall. I always kind of approach it a little bit like a putt in golf. If you have like a 20-foot putt, you take like a spot that's 2-3 feet out, and it's easier to hit. So I talked to some goalkeepers throughout my career, how they set up the wall. And if you look at many free kicks, where the goalkeepers usually take one guy outside of the ball, and the second guy kind of aligns between post and the ball. So if you have a right-footed player that kind of curls the ball a little bit, you are aiming for player 3 or 4. Right. That was always my spot. If I hit it over 3, it might be all the way in the corner or post area. If I hit it over player 4, if you would go back and find the ones that I hit against Kansas City at home, I hit them over like 4 and 5, so the goalie had a chance.
Right.
So if you aim over player 3 or 4 in the wall, then they're always in a good area. Then the other part is like, okay, how do you get it back down? Do you follow through? Do you stop your follow through? So there are different techniques, but I found my technique, and I kind of hit every free kick the same. Doesn't matter if it was training, just practice with mannequins, with a wall, in games. I kind of like found my way that I'm trying to explain. And some guys get it and they get better at it, and it just takes time too. It's not just like, all right, here you go, that's it.
It's funny, and I think Jason can probably back me up on this. Before you had those 2 against Montreal, I remember having a conversation. I think it was with Justin Veldhaus and Chris Raimondi, and they were telling us, they're part of Atlanta United's communications team. They were telling us, guys, we watched this Kevin Kratz on the training ground, and you're not going to believe how he hits free kicks. He can score from anywhere in a free kick. Just trust us. And we trusted them, and you did. So now I ask you, as someone who gets to watch the academy kids, is there another Kevin Kratz in the academy who you've seen on the training ground hitting some beautiful free kicks?
I'm trying to create one. We're all trying really hard to give the kids as many information as possible, right, in all parts of the game. I see it like my U16 team that I have at the moment. I see them go before practice. They started hitting free kicks after practice, and every now and then I join. And I still got it, though. I still got it.
Have you been able to put one on Brad lately?
No, I saw him today. I was like, I need to maybe at some point. Hopefully, Gonzalo gets me out there at some point. Kevin, come on, show the guys how it's done.
I wanted to ask you a couple things on free kicks really quick. Over the years, and the first person I think of hitting it in the style is Cristiano Ronaldo, where it's almost like he hits it on the point of the ball where the needle would go in to put air in it. And it has that top spin or almost knuckle. How hard is that to do? I know not everybody does it, but it's becoming a little more in fashion lately.
Yeah, it's been really big with with some balls that we had like 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
The balls were just flying all over the place. I honestly was never really good at those. I kind of like found my one with the curl on it and spin on it. So I kind of stuck to that one. But like they're difficult to hit. There are some that you can see they're just the ball is just going anywhere, and there's no way a keeper, and then you can't blame a goalkeeper for that one. So it's very difficult. I never really got good at it, and I stuck to the one that I was good at.
And the other one I had for you is, you talked about early on how you and Miguel and Joseph and Leandro are all taking free kicks, and you'd see different players take these from time to time. One player that I was surprised to see, and we maybe should have pulled one from Atlanta United 2 here, Mikey Ambrose from the left side. Really good, maybe close to you.
Yeah, Mikey scored 2 in the same game too.
He did.
The other day when he played for the second team, the assistant coach Omar Jarun, he asked me, "Hey Kevin, what do you think about Mikey playing?" I'm like, "Hey Omar, trust me, he'll be fine. He'll give you what you want. He's gonna lead the group." And then I sent him the article where he scored both free kicks. Yeah. He was like, "Yeah, that's so long ago." I'm like, "Wait for it. Give Mikey a chance. He's gonna put one in the back of the net."
If he gets that free kick, he's going to bury it. Who is the one that we haven't seen take a free kick that you've seen in training over the years that you would trust to take one?
So Barco has been gotten better. Mm-hmm. Right now, I think on the first team is Ronald.
Really?
Oh.
I think Ronald has a really good... I saw him a couple of times, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I think he has a really good free kick. I hope he gets one at some point.
Okay.
We always have the Barco and Joseph, those in consideration. But I think he has a really good free kick.
Well, that's interesting. That's good intel. So when Ronald Hernandez scores on a direct free kick one day, remember this conversation. Kevin, this has been a clinic, and it's been very, very fascinating. It's great to see you again, and thank you so much for grading on an honest scale 5 great direct free kick goals in Atlanta United history.
Thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed it.
All right, let's check in from the proving ground now. Great to visit with Kevin Kratz. The Twos are in a spot of bother right now, Jason, because they've hit a difficult point in their schedule. A lot of teams scuffling for playoff spots right now. And Atlanta United, too, had to play 2 contending teams over the last week, Tampa Bay Rowdies and Birmingham Legion.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple of games for Atlanta United, too. The Tampa Bay Rowdies, in my opinion, are the best team in the USL Championship. And the Twos have historically played them tough, but haven't had great results against them. It really felt like that kind of a game again. Giving up the early goal really hurt Atlanta in this one. Sebastian Guenzati had 2. He was the USL Championship Player of the Week. Jackson Conway with an opportunity late to pull one back. Philip Goodrum tried to chip in the follow-up. Could not find that goal. A 2-0 loss against a top team. So that put more pressure on the game against Birmingham. And this one was a kind of a weird game. Atlanta, I thought, struggled a little bit with the occasion and didn't come out in a strong manner against a team in Birmingham that you have to. A team that's physical, a team that puts you under pressure. It's the best I've ever seen Birmingham look, by the way, as well. I thought Birmingham Legion have made a couple of additions this season. It's really paying off. They're not just the strong, physical, direct team that they used to be. They can play a little bit as well, and they showed that in Kennesaw. But I thought the Twos struggled with the moment a little bit against both of these teams. And look, this is why you have Atlanta United too. This is why we call it the proving ground, because this is the first time that Atlanta United 2 has been in real playoff contention at this point in the season. And they still are. They still are in a playoff fight. and they've got to go get points now in tougher spots on the road. They only have one home game left now. These were the next to 2 last home games. And I think it showed the difference in what you see in USL Championship from time to time with teams like Atlanta United too, who are very young, a lot of young players, even the MLS players who played for the twos, like Eric Lopez, like Jackson Conway, are young players going up against guys who are seasoned professionals and internationals as well. I mean, Nico Brett has represented Jamaica, plays for Birmingham, was huge and really difficult for Atlanta to deal with. Sebastian Guenzati's been in this league, and he's been on best 11s for years. It shows the difference, and it shows, I think, the gap in experience, what these two results were about. Jack Collison was frustrated after the game on Wednesday, and I totally understand it because that's kind of how the game felt. It was a frustrating day where if Atlanta had taken advantage of their opportunities, we're having a different conversation. I think you could have gotten a point against Birmingham, but they didn't. And they missed some opportunities, and they left points on the table, and then it got away from them at the end, and they end up losing on a bad score line that didn't really reflect the game as a whole. But Jack Collison said, look, now I've got to go back to the drawing board, and if I've got to turn to other players who did come on and put on a performance and showed they were ready for the occasion in a tough trip this weekend in Texas, well, he's going to turn to the guys that he thinks can go get him 3 points because now they need 3 points out of this trip.
Yeah, and that is a tough trip, by the way. A lot of travel down to Rio Grande Valley, one of the more unique stadiums in the USL Championship. I really
stadium.
like their park a great deal. I love how they set it up.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a tough trip. The good thing is Jack Collison has had these guys playing respectably to, at times, very good on the road this year.
Yeah, I thought 2 players in particular in this match were really impressive, and they're 2 of the academy products. One, David Mejia, still in the academy, came on and tried to make things happen in the attack. Immediately was creating chances. I thought Mejia was very fun to watch in this game. And I thought of Johnny Fortune, who signed a pro deal with Atlanta United 2 last month. He is the epitome of why this team is so important because we saw earlier in the year, picked up a red card on the road, a couple of yellows, made a bad decision on the second yellow to go in on a play that he didn't need to do to grab somebody and get that second yellow. You have to be smarter in that moment. He's learned from it. He's bounced back and thought he was probably Atlanta's best player on the pitch in the entirety of the match. And he played as a 6 at times, which we've generally seen him as more of an 8. A little more attack-minded, played as a 6 towards the end of the match, showed a lot. I thought he showed a lot for the moment. Those might be the guys that Jack Collison turns to on the road. If they're young enough, it doesn't matter about their age. If they're good enough, doesn't matter how young they are. And if they show they can handle these moments, doesn't matter how young they are. They're going to get these opportunities. Jack believes in his young players. You might see a very young lineup in Texas on Saturday night.
And that match Saturday night will be on ESPN Plus after the first team plays their match in Philadelphia. So you'll have a chance to watch both sides. Give it a go on Saturday. Speaking of MLS, the Eastern Conference playoff picture is starting to evolve a little bit. The midweek fixtures, and there were only a few in MLS, but the midweek fixtures that were played have helped to shape the conversation a little bit. Miami did not have a good night Wednesday, losing 5-1 to Nashville. A late equalizer in that New York City Red Bulls match. Maybe it helps Atlanta United a tiny bit. Maybe it doesn't. It could be debated. New England, of course, continues to roll, although Chicago gave them a good game. And I want to point out Leagues Cup, by the way. There's been a lot of headlines this week about Leagues Cup and the expansion, which is something we'll probably get into more detail on a future episode of the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. But I thought Seattle coming back, getting that late goal to make things interesting against Lyon, in Las Vegas, which, by the way, really turned out to support the match on Wednesday night. I think there was a lot of good to be taken out of Seattle's Leagues Cup run, and in particular, how MLS against Liga MX was celebrated Wednesday night in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think we'll probably see more things in Vegas if you paid attention to Don Garber speaking at halftime on ESPN2. I was impressed with the whole package of that final. Good turnout on a neutral site. León is not the biggest team from Mexico, but it was a good turnout from their fans. I think you had a lot of neutral fans there as well. And Seattle put up a good fight and are going to feel like they left something there because they hit the post a couple of times. Raul Ruidiaz hit it late that would have equalized. He hit the post as well that would have put them up 2-0 and maybe put the game away. Leon fought back after falling behind 1-0. It's a credit to them. It's a credit to that team. It's a credit to Ezequiel Barco and Alan Franco's former manager, Ariel Holan, who won the League's Cup with Leon. He won the Copa Sudamericana with Independiente with those guys. I thought it was the great cap to a week talking about League's Cup and talking about increased cooperation between these two leagues and increased competition. That kind of a game is why we want to see more. It's just an exciting moment for this league, for Liga MX, for the game as a whole, I think, in this continent with what's coming in 2023. And I can't wait till we're seeing some Leagues Cup games at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
I can't wait until we're seeing some MLS matches in Las Vegas, maybe in a future year. Road trip. That would be a lot of fun. All right. Now, the reason why those victories by Nashville and New England were so important, if you look at the Eastern Conference table coming into this weekend, New England clinched a playoff berth. That's the least of what they're going to be clinching over the next couple of weeks, it would seem. But Nashville, that's a big 3 points for them because Atlanta United and some of the teams below them on the table were starting to threaten their position a little bit for potentially getting into the number 2 spot in the East. Now, it could be debated. New York City and Red Bulls with the draw. Some Atlanta United fans might say you'd want to see maybe Red Bulls get all 3 points, bring New York City a little bit closer to Atlanta United. I'm of the opinion that as long as Atlanta United takes care of its own business, and you can see why Saturday's match against Philadelphia is so important, only 1 point separating them right now. But I really do believe, Jason, if Atlanta United takes care of its business, they're going to be no worse than third in the Eastern Conference when this is all said and done on decision day.
Yeah, they do play NYC, so they're going to have that opportunity to take points from them. I think it's a big goal, and it was in the 102nd minute. There was a VAR issue that had 12 minutes of stoppage time when the penalty was taken for the Red Bulls. But I think it's a big goal because it keeps New York City close enough. One more point difference if Red Bulls win it. I mean, I don't know how much that's really going to come into play at the very end. We'll have to wait and see. The Nashville win in midweek was huge because losing in Toronto opened a door potentially for teams to catch them. I think winning again now, it's going to be harder. It's not completely impossible, but the way Nashville's been playing, I think they've got the number 2 spot in good hands. I don't know if it's locked up, but in a good position. Orlando's an interesting one who has been cratering a little bit defensively, picking up red cards, losing 3 in a row. They're falling down the table, and you look at how close things have gotten around them now. Montreal is 1 point back. Atlanta's 2. Philly's 3. DC's only 4 points back. Even Miami with their bad couple of losses, is still in the mix. Miami's not done yet, and Columbus is not done yet. They're 4 points out of a spot right now. Orlando has an incredibly difficult road coming up, and right now they're in 4th. I don't know if they finish in 4th. That tough road starts for them. I mean, you've lost 3 in a row, and you got to go face the team that might have the all-time best regular season in league history when all's said and done. That's not who you want to see when you're in a funk.
Columbus has almost a must win. It feels very important for them.
Pretty close.
At home, Montreal on Saturday. Red Bulls will play New York City again. And you've got a lot of big matches in the Western Conference. Look at that Seattle Sporting Kansas City match on Sunday night.
Yeah, I want to see how Seattle bounces back after playing midweek in Vegas, losing in Utah last weekend to RSL. Kansas City had the weekend off. So they are very rested coming into this. I think that's a tough one for Seattle. Chicago, it's a winnable game on the road for Nashville. More points that they can potentially pick up. Minnesota, I think, is in a must-win game. The two that I look at as true must-wins to do what these clubs were expected to do or now have as a possibility, Columbus is not quite there for me yet because they play so many of the teams around them. They're going to have opportunities to pick up points. If DC is going to remain in the playoff race and be a contender to go, they have to beat Cincinnati at home. They should. I'm sure they're favored by a lot. That's how that match would look to me on paper. DC should win that match. Minnesota's in that kind of a match as well out west. They get Houston coming to town. Houston historically has been poor on the road for years now. Minnesota has to win that match. Now, they have momentum. They're coming in after a big win, an unexpected win against the LA Galaxy in St. Paul. They have to do that again against Houston. If Minnesota is going to be anything like the team that got to the Western Conference Final, they've got to beat Houston and secure their playoff future.
Keep in mind, too, Miami does not play this weekend. Their next match will be Wednesday night against Atlanta United at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, so they get the benefit of a little bit of rest. All right, let's look at the Philadelphia Union a little bit. This is a team that's been very, very inconsistent all summer, and I'm wondering how much can we really read into what they did against Orlando? They looked very impressive, but Orlando had a couple very key players out. Nani, Andres Perea, both out because they were sent off in their last match. In fact, as we look at some of the highlights from Philadelphia's win over Orlando on Sunday, we might have to cue up Yakity's sacks a little bit.
That's Orlando right now in general these days. But this is another one where it's a deflection. I think you have to look at some of the movement from Philadelphia and the way that they play for what you're taking out of this. It's the Philadelphia Union team that we've talked about multiple times this season. It's a 4-4-2 diamond. It's narrow. They're going to try to make you play out wide. They're going to try to compress the middle. They will press. They'll make it difficult for you. They'll force turnovers, as we see right there. They create opportunities from pressure. I mean, this is a deep throw in. It looks like Orlando's going to get out of it, but Philadelphia doesn't give up on the play. And that's the number one thing about the Union for me, is they just don't give up on sequences. Sergio Santos gets inside of Antonio Carlos, a team that's missing two players in this game due to red card suspension. Why are you even bringing that into table in that moment, Antonio Carlos, when it's 2-1? On a penalty in the 88th minute? The penalty's converted right at the 90th minute mark, because that's going to hurt Orlando as they go to New England this weekend. It's unnecessary. But Philadelphia puts you under that kind of pressure, and they just don't let you breathe in games. And that's the biggest takeaway for me about the Union. I think they got a little bit of their personality back in this one. And something that offside on that last goal that would have made it 4-1. It's something that I think they lost there for a while. And could it have been because of the rumors about Jamiro Montero being transferred out? That would have changed their midfield dramatically. Maybe. I don't think they were distracted by CONCACAF Champions League because it's been so long between games. I don't think that really factored in. They've lost 5 of their last 8. In all competitions. That's not the Philadelphia Union we saw back in CONCACAF Champions League earlier this year. I don't even think it's the Philadelphia Union we saw in the 2-2 draw earlier this season, where they came from behind. They lost that feeling that we saw firsthand at Mercedes-Benz Stadium for a while. Have they regained it? That part we don't know, because it was Orlando, and they are really struggling. But what Philly will try to do here is what we've seen for a little while under Jim Curtin. If Atlanta plays out of the back, like we know that they will, Philadelphia will press. They will try to cause turnovers. How will Gonzalo Pineda approach that? Will it be 3 center backs? Will it be 2? Don't know yet. I'm really fascinated to see what that looks like. What does the front look like? Is it 2 up top? Is it 3 up top? Is it very fluid up top? Is it the whole attacking quartet? We just don't know yet. That will keep Philly on their toes. That will keep the Union guessing a little bit as to how Atlanta will approach it, because there's not a lot of tape on Gonzalo Pineda and the decisions he makes. And look, we saw it firsthand against DC. You and I were both very surprised by the Luis Araujo sub coming in for George Campbell. going from the 3 center backs to 2 in a moment where a lot of managers would get defensive in that moment. Gonzalo Pineda went very bold and felt like there was more on the table in the game. And Atlanta struggled a little bit with it at first, which is expected. It hadn't played in a 4-man backline in a long time, but it did open up that attack even more. So will Gonzalo Pineda go for it here with a tactical setup early and be very aggressive? Or on the road, will he want to see what Philadelphia does first and then play off of that? These are the questions that we don't have answers to yet. These are also the questions that Jim Curtin doesn't have answers to yet. So the tactical battle between the two could be really fascinating.
And I will tell you right now, this match will not be over until the full-time whistle blows. I think we've seen it over the years against Philadelphia.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we've seen it a couple times this year against Philadelphia. Second leg of their CONCACAF Champions League tie, they scored right at the death to pull a draw in the second leg. It didn't really have a huge impact on the overall outcome of the tie. But then here in Atlanta, right at the death again, Jacob Glesnes with a rocket to pull a draw after Atlanta United had a 2-0 lead in the final 10 minutes of that match. So we have seen Philadelphia be irrepressible. And I think you make a really, really good point. Under Jim Curtin, this team does not give up. And even though they were out of form for a long stretch this summer, I think this is going to be the most difficult of Atlanta United's 3 matches over this 8-day span coming up. And the other 2, by the way, won't be easy. A home match against Miami on Wednesday, and then a road match in Montreal where they have been exceptional since going back to Stade Saputo. That'll be a week from Saturday. So these are 3 tough games, and I really feel like this is going to be the toughest. On top of everything else, Joseph Martinez is listed as questionable for this match. Ronald Hernandez listed as questionable for this match. Atlanta United might get Franco Ibarra back, but then you have those questions that are going to come up as well, Jason. How would Atlanta United set up their attacking group if Joseph Martinez is out of this match on Saturday?
Yeah, it brings that possibility of playing 4 in the back if Atlanta chooses. But against Philadelphia, we know that they almost always play 2 true forwards up top. And Kasper Shabilko kind of reemerged in that Orlando match. He's a player that I think you have to worry about at any point, but coming in hot after a couple of goals, Shabilko can be a problem. And if it's Corey Burke or if it's Sergio Santos playing off of him, do you want to have 3 center backs to have that little extra layer of security? Now, if you don't have Joseph Martinez, we've seen this team play 3 center backs, but also play that front 3 with Barco, with Moreno, with Araujo against Orlando. And it looked really good, and they created chances from a very early point in that match. So that is a possibility here to be in, you can call it a 3-4-3. You can move pieces around however you want. It's most important, is it 3 center backs or is it 2? And what does the holding midfield look like? And getting Franco Ibarra at least really close is a great help to this team because he gives you a different personality in that central midfield when needed. He's a more defensively minded player than Mateo Sosetu. I think he's a little bit more comfortable right now than in going and hunting the ball than maybe Mo Adams. I think Mo is a little bit better on the ball than Ibarra. But there's going to be moments in these games, and maybe really soon, that Ibarra and his presence and his aggressiveness is going to be needed to see games out. That's a great help to get him. Is he going to come back into the team and play with Sosa? I don't know. It gives you the ability, and this is, again, back to what we're learning on the fly, and I think what opponents are learning. It gives Gonzalo Pineda a lot of different characteristics that he can use to construct a lineup. And that can keep other teams really in a difficult spot preparing a plan against Atlanta. I don't know what they look like in this game. And, we know this team pretty well, and we don't know what approach they take. I don't know how Philadelphia would have that information either. They're going to look at the Orlando game, I would assume, with questions about Joseph. But they've got to consider what we saw with a line of 4 against DC. So that's a lot to consider preparing this match. And Atlanta knows how Philadelphia will play because we've seen it consistently over the years.
Right, and it could also morph during the match too
Absolutely.
with tactical element. Speaking of the midfield, that goes into my prediction for
Uh-oh.
this week. I hit on my prediction last week. My prediction this week is Atlanta United will get a goal from a midfielder in this match on Saturday. Santiago Sosa has scored against Philadelphia Union this year. He did so in Philadelphia, as a matter of fact, in the CONCACAF Champions League. I think Sosa, maybe Josetu. We'll see where Moreno is positioned. I think it maybe Mo Adams plays. I think Atlanta United gets a goal from a midfielder on Saturday.
I had to check to see if I got my prediction right from last week on Brooks Lynn, and I didn't. I didn't get the defensive actions part of it. I went really big on that one. Three key passes. He got the chances created, but I said he'd have a couple of defensive actions as well. Didn't get that. Close. I got half of it. And again, I went pretty bold on it. I was not bold enough to pick that Marcelino Moreno would dribble past 5 players and create one of the goals of the season. I'm not going to do that here. This is a tough one because this game's a tough one. It's going to be a game of transition moments. It's going to be a game of turnovers at times. It's going to be a game of quick breaks. And I think that will suit George Bello a lot. And he got a goal in the last game. Moreno created it for him, put it on a platter. But we've seen Bello, even in that match itself, be very close to getting that goal. He's a wingback, but we know how much he enjoys getting forward and creating and joining the attack. I think George Bello in this match against Philadelphia, matched up with most likely Olivier Mbaiso, Bello has a big day, and I think Bello gets a goal or an assist in this match.
Okay, that works. I'm just waiting for the opportunity when we can use Kevin Kratz's intel and predict a Ronald Hernandez direct free kick goal. That might happen in the span of a broadcast, not here on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. And speaking of the broadcast, Univision and TUDN will have it tomorrow, 3:30 on TV and on Twitter. Jason and I at 3:30 on Sports Radio 92.9. The Game, the Atlanta United app, the Odyssey app, and Sirius XM channel 157. So lots of different ways you can find the match on Saturday from Philadelphia. It's a big one. These two clubs separated by just 1 point on the Eastern Conference table. Start of the big week for Atlanta United. When we join you next week on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff, we'll look ahead to our trip to Montreal, one of our favorite road trips of the year in MLS. Thanks for joining us today on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff.